She's what was said, what I heard, and what others heard was fat black bitch. All right.
That's what was told to me as well too.
Right. Correct.
As this police officer called you a fat black bitch.
Correct.
All right, welcome back to the Everyday Life of Deputy Brian Woodard. Today, I have a special treat for you all because we have a lot of things that is going on in the community. And basically, which community I'm talking about is in the city of Desoto, Texas. So a lot of people have heard about a young man who has a nonprofit. It's called Raising Havoc, and his name is Chris Curry. Chris Curry is going to be our special guest for today. And let me just go ahead and tell you all this. He has been doing this for a long time. He's been spent 16 years as a coach. And let's just get to the meat and potatoes. He has had this nonprofit for 10 years or more, and he does a lot of things for kids. He's a resident of DeSoto, went to high school in DeSoto, and he's just a wonderful resident, and he does things for these kids that we wish a lot of other people took the time to step up and do a lot of these things. I'm proud to have him today here on the show. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome Mr. Chris Curry. Thank you so much for being here, man.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
And then I'll say this too. The brother is fly today, boy. He all clean. Got his hat on the chain.
Oh,
he means business. Where was he when I was a coach in Little League? So basically, Chris, man, there's a lot of things in DeSoto that have concerned me, and it's concerned you as well too, because you've done a lot of events for the youth, and because and let me just go ahead and say this: there's a lot of kids out there that. Single parent homes. There's a lot of kids out there that the father's not in their life or vice versa. And when you step in to have these events and you're being out there with these kids and doing sports, things like that, man, that is powerful and it really means something.
Yeah, I think that the events is a small thing that the organization does. You know, we're really hands-on within the community with our kids. You know, we offer so many different avenues in sports. And like you just said, not just sports, you know, we become a family. We're there, you know, we get put on, not just myself, but a lot of the coaches and parents and team moms get put on the list for the school so that they can go if anything happens at school. They can go and be part of the school, you know, they there. And you know, instead of reaching to the parent, you can call this coach and he's going to come to the school instead, you know. Right. And so, again, it's more than just events. We are, like you said, we try to be impactful in these kids' life in some type of capacity, other than just sports.
Exactly, and it also seems like it's like a mentorship.
Yeah,
well. You know,
it's like that, you know. And we, you know, we have other different programs that we offer. We, you know, we have resources that the organization has that we utilize and we give the parents when the kids are doing not doing great in school, or not just that, you know, when life happens, right? Because life does happen, you know, and so we're able to, you know, rally the troops and hey y'all, we need to go get this stuff. We had a family whose house burned down, and so we was able to put them up in a hotel for a little bit. Wow. And we gathered supplies and gathered this, and those are the things that don't make the news. Those are the things that people don't see, they don't hear about, but we do it because we love our community and we love our people that are in our organization. So we use sports as an avenue to bless the people of the community.
Right, and it's been brought to my attention, and that you, during with these sports and these events with these children, and like I said, I commend you for the tremendous job that you're doing. You know what? I have to give you a hand clap myself, man. From brother to brother, thank you so much, because there's somebody that's a parent out there that they're so grateful. They might not know how to tell you, but I'm gonna tell you thank you for the job that you do. However, I've been hearing a lot of things about the city of DeSoto and how they are basically, I'm just gonna say it, discrediting you and trying to get a lot of financial funds for you, basically strong arming you when you're using their parks and recreation, their events for these kids. They're trying to strong arm you for money, and a lot of people have reached out and say, hey, well, this is wrong what they're doing to this. And this man is doing a lot of great things in their community, and they're just basically bullying him into paying money just so they can have the events in the city of DeSoto, which I think is wrong, but I'm gonna let you clarify this because everybody needs to hear things from the horse's mouth. And you're the one that's doing these events. Tell us about this. What's going on?
And I would be a fool, or not be a fool, but I'd be wrong to say that it's just me. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's happening to more than just me, you know. But me being the long storied person who has brought all of this to the community, and you know, let's just be clear and just be real frank. You know, I was the first person to bring anything like this to Texas. You know, we're talking about 100 and plus team event from people from all across the United States, and I'm bringing it to our community because I want our community to reap the benefits of things of that nature.
Right.
Instead of taking it to other places that have offered money and offered you can do this and do that and we'll give you this, bring your events here. You know, one of the relationships that I built with our former Parks and Recreation director was, hey, keeping, for lack of better words, our dollar in our community.
Right.
And that was something that, you know, we vowed to do together, and I've always done that. But it's become so hard, not just for me, but for those that I've introduced into the community, to our community, to even stay here or want to stay within our community. Right. And it's sad, you know, I understand that, you know, we all have a way of needing to provide, but I don't think that it should be used, youth sports should be used as that type of avenue.
Right.
In the manner that they're doing.
From what has been brought to my attention, and like I've gotten emails, I've gotten phone calls and everything, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is what we want to put out there, and if there's something that you don't know that is true or not true, or if you agree or disagree, just let me know. Mm-hmm. But from what I'm hearing is when the Parks and Recreation has events for, you know, I don't know, little leagues or softball or any kind of special event within the city of DeSoto. Let me just go ahead and be raw with it. If you're black, they want the police there. They want you to pay for extra security and extra officers. I heard that they want you to pay for the gas in the squad cars of the cops.
Yeah,
but if you're not African American, then they don't really treat you. They don't want they don't require you to have law enforcement officers there and security there and things like that, which is kind of a conflict. And I've been hearing this from more than one person. So just help elaborate that.
So it's a lot to unpack there. But perception is reality. Right. And so when we do have events, and again, we've been having events. I've been having events in the city for 10 years.
Right.
Their new classification, all of a sudden now, is special event. However, throughout the last 10 years, we've had events. Pricing has changed and it's gone up and gone up and gone up. And so one of the reasons that, you know, we have to charge our citizens so much, and not our citizens, but our customers so much, is not because of generally the expense of the fields, is because we're having to pay the police in the manner that we're having to pay them. And so we'll have a large event, and they will require us to have a certain amount of police. And let me say this, I always like to preface this. I'm not against the police. You know, I think that having their presence there in some type of fashion is a great thing because it's just being visible. However, I'm against the excessiveness of the police, requiring so much police officers that can't wand, can't pat down, can't check bags, can't do anything other than if it's a crime or being a disturbance committed, then they will come into action. But you want all of these officers at an event and then tell me I have to turn around and hire security to now run the event. So now I'm paying officers all this money, $70, $85 an hour. Then I got to turn around and pay security who can now, you tell me they have to be level 4, which means level 4 means they carry a gun, right. They have a taser, sometimes they have the body camera. They can do everything that police can do except they can't detain. I mean, they can't arrest. They can detain you until the police come. So now they're at the front gates, they're at the park, they're inside the park, they're the ones patting down, wanding, doing all this stuff, and the police are standing there
just doing nothing. Like it's basically taking all the money that you're putting into
it. And again, we're not against the police, but why do I need 7, 8, 9 police officers standing around doing this, and I'm paying them thousands of dollars to do this. I just had an event a couple weeks ago, and it was 113, 114 teams from 10 different states. We had 7 officers. They made me pay for their gas. It cost me $22,000 for the officers.
Jesus, man.
And they stood around, and at the end of the event, they told me, yeah, we didn't have to turn our sirens on one time for 3 days. So, and then the whole problem that we have with this is that, okay, if you are saying that this is required for safety, then we look across the street and there's 8 baseball fields going.
Right. There you go.
You look across the street and there's soccer fields up and down. You don't see one officer.
And no law enforcement officer.
Not one officer.
That's how I'm saying they're taking advantage of. I mean, using their power for money. That just doesn't. It really upsets me. I'll just be honest with you.
It upsets me because now they want to try to say classify it. Well, they're part of the association. Well, they forget. Again, I don't like that they try to play as if we're ignorant. I was on the Desoto baseball board for years, so I know that the only time that you're not allowed to have police out there is quote unquote league play or postseason tournament. That's there's a couple games throughout the year, and then there's a postseason event after the year, and that's the association. But what about all those times when people come from the north, from the south, wherever? They rent our fields. They go and pay for those fields. They come make all this money at our fields where I pay taxes at, where I lived all these years. They look at me and laugh and say, I ain't gotta have security. And they go back to the community that they live in with the money they made in our community. See, that's the problem they have. But the person who lives here, we get the shakedown. Again, I'm not against whatever
we try to financially break you.
Well, I'm not against whatever structure. If they tell me that DeSoto, this is our structure, cool. Let me see that structure for everybody.
Exactly.
I don't want to just see it for our people, for our demographics that play football. So now, okay, well, we're classifying you as a special event. Okay, well, the special events ordinance says that I need to sign paperwork saying I'm a special event. The special events paper ordinance says that I'm supposed to be notified at a certain time that I'm being classified as a special event. You can't come tell me that I'm a special event less than 30 days prior to my event.
That's another. Yeah, go ahead and talk about that. That's another thing that I was. Go ahead.
So that's what they did to me this year, and that's what really sent me over the edge. My event, they know of my events because it's on the calendar. They put them on their calendar. So it's been the same time every year for 10 years. I signed my paperwork in February, March, whatever it is, February, March, signed it, sent it back to them. Hey, I'm doing my event. Great. They're supposed to say, okay, well, we're going to make your event our special event. So now I can say, nah, that's not going to work. Show me what special event means, because we've never had this conversation before. What is special event? So if they give me paperwork saying this special event, I can say, nah, I'm not gonna do that here. That's crazy. But you let me sign it. You let me do all the planning. You got people flying in from all across the country, 10 different states. I got hotels booked up, Airbnbs booked up. I done spent money. All of this to have my event that I'm bringing to the city, and you wait until 30 days prior to my event, less than 30 days prior to my event, to say, oh, well, instead of having 3 officers, we're going to charge you got to have 9 officers.
Oh, my God.
9 officers. Oh, and you got to have, you got to pay for their gas, too.
And if this is the police department doing
this was the chief of police.
The chief of police, Joe Costa.
Unfortunately, this was
Joe Costa,
and he says that he was signed off.
Those who do not know, Joe Costa is the police chief of the city of DeSoto, Texas. And as a chief, by you strong-arming folks and you allowing this to happen, that says a lot. Well, that says a lot, man.
So he's the one who presented the paperwork to me. And in a meeting, the pre-planning meeting that we always have with the city. and he's never been a part of. So let me just get that straight, because we've always dealt with a certain officer. So now, to me, this is all retaliatory, and I'll get to that. But you bring this paperwork to me and hand it to me directly, and you say, since you want to call us thieves here, and if I'm lying, it can be clarified, and I will state every name that was in that room, because he said that, since you want to call us thieves here, and handed me the paperwork and said, yeah, that was signed off by Majed as of this morning.
That was the city manager.
Again. And so, in that paperwork that they gave me, and it had, we got to have such and such officers, you got to have ambulances out there, you got to pay for the paramedics to be out there and all this different stuff. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And you can't have your event until this gets done. And they want to get paid 2 weeks in advance. So now I got to come up with $22,000 to pay you all for security 2 weeks in advance. Well, not security, for police officers. And then I still had to hire security to run the event. So when I opened up my doors to have an event for the city of DeSoto, I was already $39,000 in the hole. Yeah. And $30,000 of that was for police and security. And the issue that I have is again, if you tell me that's your standard, I can accept that or don't accept it. If you give me time to say, okay, this is what we're gonna charge you, okay, take it or leave it. I can walk out and say, no, I'm not doing that. But I can't do that when I got people who've already, and I got lives, people who spent money to be here and be part of this event, come to our community and be here, and up and move an event in last minute. No, it's a huge undertaking. These events take months and months of planning.
Exactly.
The issue the issue that I have is, don't tell me that it's about safety. Don't tell me it's about safety. That I'm looking across the street and I see BMX with 2,000 people out there, and they got RVs and open containers, and it's not one officer. Don't tell me it's about safety when baseball got all these folk out here and not one, they charging, taking money. Don't tell me it's about safety. I'm looking at it. I'm looking dead at it. And it's not just me.
Yes, sir.
It's our people who are within our community. They wonder why they don't get the respect, because they're looking at how you do certain people within the community, and you want me to respect that? Them folks don't even live here, and they come making money off of us. They're charged at the gate. They got 1,000 people up and down. They got the fields packed. Not one officer. And don't tell me it's about an association, because it's not about association. They're not part of the association. They're nowhere close to part of the association. They rented the fields. They rented the fields like I come and rent the fields. But because it's a certain demographic, they're good to go.
Let me just go ahead and be raw with that. Just because you're black, and you might have people of other races that are doing these big events, but they don't say anything to them. They don't charge them. Basically, they don't treat them the same way as they treat people in their own community and their own demographics. And let me add on to that, because this is something. Now, these are some things that some viewers have brought to my attention as well too. Besides that, hey Deputy Woodard, I wanted to have an event at such and such place or whatever, and not just the fields, but any event in the city of DeSoto. In the city, they're saying that I have to have a police officer there, which I understand, but I have my own police officer, and I have a friend of mine that does security, and he works for the sheriff's department, or he works for the marshal's office, or he works for the police department, or the constable's office, whatever the case might be. But they're telling me that I can't have them there. It only has to be an officer from the city of DeSoto.
Absolutely.
That right there.
So
from you know what?
So I can clarify that.
Yes,
I can clarify that.
This comes from citizens now.
No, I can clarify that. I'm just gonna go back a little further, give a little context here. Again, this is, and back in 2020, when after COVID, our youth sports association, DeSoto Football, which I was the president of, it disbanded because of COVID. Okay, and so Now there's no more association. We had 10 football teams, all right? 10 football teams with each organization having 4 levels, all right? So now there's 40 football teams every Saturday at the football fields.
Right.
All right? At UHL. The police, they would drive in, take a look around, get in their car, drive out and be gone. We had an old monitor named Mr. Bill. God rest his soul. Mr. Bill, he's one of the good man. Set up that field. He used to just make sure, everything was going on. So you're talking about 40 teams up there at the football field, playing football every weekend, in the association, not one officer. Now, I come the next weekend, COVID hit, I come put on an event with the same 40 football teams.
Right.
And they say, hey, you got to pay us for these officers to be up here. And I says, we don't have officers at football field anytime. But because now it's not association, they have to get paid. Okay, good. Bring us such and such in cash to the police station.
That just sounds so, go ahead, brother.
But this is how it went. So now I'm having to take a certain amount of money to the police station, all right, for the officers to run the event that'll be there. And you still gotta have security. So we take them cash, they give us a paper receipt, handwritten receipt that they wrote down, and here you go, here's your receipt. And you go about your business. You have your officers there. And again, they want their money 2 weeks in advance.
Cash money. They want you to pay.
They want it in cash.
Money.
So I started complaining after the first couple of years. I said, hey man, why we keep giving these folks cash? I'm getting these paper receipts. I can't get a 1099. I got to do stuff for my taxes. Like whether they do stuff by the books or not, I'm trying to run a nonprofit. They'll take away our nonprofit status if we're not doing checks and balances.
Exactly. Right.
So, hey, I'm starting to scream and holler, make a bunch of noise. I'm talking to the Parks and Recreation director. He's like, "No, you right. He's going back to them saying, this young man is right. Y'all need to figure this out because he is absolutely right. I contact the mayor. I contact whoever would listen. And this is years. Say, hey, why are we giving these folks cash? This what are we doing here? Finally, they go to a system called roll call.
Right.
After me complaining, like, hey, the roll call is a governing system that governs police overtime for municipalities.
Right.
All right. That roll call is to eliminate anyone in the municipality to have any say so in who's working events. If you're part of roll call and say you're a roll call and you work for such and such, but you're part of roll call, you can sign up and work for that event. That's just how it goes. But the city of DeSoto has made it now to whereas only DeSoto officers can work those events, and the only time another jurisdiction come in is if DeSoto officers are not available. So pretty much they have controlled it to whereas no, only DeSoto can work these events. Only DeSoto can work your party. Only DeSoto can do this. You can't use this sheriff. You can't. This sheriff want to come in and give you a deal.
The sheriff has more authority than the police.
They don't. You can't use this Texas Ranger. You can't use nobody if it's DeSoto. It has to be DeSoto. And if our DeSoto officers aren't available, nobody's available. Okay, then we'll let roll call pick who sign up for roll call, open to anybody. But right now, only DeSoto officers. So this is why you get all of these DeSoto officers at the events that you're working because they have said no, they only want DeSoto. They have told roll call, and I've read the contract because it's open records. All you gotta do is read it, and people don't understand how powerful open records can be.
Exactly.
That it's only for DeSoto officers unless they're not available.
Now, and I'm glad that you said that about certain officers and whatnot, because there was a certain officer that was distributing officers to come to these events to get paid, to be positioned, or they always went through one person. And from my understanding, that officer's name is Officer Jessica Ryan, which she now goes by Officer Jessica Ryan Hooker. And I did watch a video on another content creators page, which is a friend of mine, that you all went up to the, I believe, City Hall in DeSoto, you and a bunch of other people, whatnot, and you met with the police chief. You also met with, I believe, Jessica Ryan. She was there, and a few others. And basically, you all were recording this whole event for your safety and for your documentation, which that's your first Fifth Amendment right, just free press and whatnot. And from my understanding, what was told to the world, from what I heard, was Jessica Ryan, which is a police officer in DeSoto, Texas, that's still a law enforcement officer in DeSoto, Texas now, said some words that were, I would say, unkind, disrespectful, and inappropriate and unprofessional. And those words were towards you. So the words that she said to you, what did she exactly say to you? Or do you feel comfortable enough saying that to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, so, in fairness, it didn't happen at that moment.
Correct. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah, but that's how a lot of us found out about it.
Yeah, we found out about it. Correct, because it was said on camera, the words that she was said. What she would. So again, I like to give context about the whole situation, just because I'm a context person.
Correct. We like that.
It was at my event. Again, as I stated before, we have pre-planning meetings for events. So when you have your pre-planning meeting, that's going over everything about how the park's going to be laid out, where security is going to be, every little detail they like to go over, and that's good because they're very meticulous, and that's okay. And so when we get to the event, she decided that she wanted to change something, and what she wanted to change was she wanted to move people further away from the field than what was already aligned. Okay. Of course, I challenged her on that, and I said this is not part of the pre-planning. You just can't come changing event layouts and things of that nature because you feel like it. And she's saying it's for safety, and it had nothing to do with safety, in my opinion. Were already way away from the field, but because she has the power to move and whatever she wanted to do, she did it. And so I challenged her on that. She did not like me challenging her, and so we got into a disagreement, for lack of better words, a shouting match. But I'm not shouting at a woman; she's shouting at me, and what was said, what I heard, and what others heard was "fat black bitch." All right.
That's what was told to me as well too.
Right. Correct.
As this police officer called you a fat black bitch.
Correct. And so I then immediately called the parks director. He then immediately called Chief Costa, who then called me. And then we had our exchange. Told him I wanted to file a complaint, this and that. He said, we're going to take care of it. She came over and apologized to me. We talked about, what the issue was. And then she was gone for the rest of the day. We didn't see her no more. I don't know if they told her to leave or what, but we didn't see her no more for the rest of the day. What she admitted to and what was said in the open records was fat fuck, which was corroborated by other officers, or one other officer that said he heard those words, and another officer said he didn't hear it, he just saw the disagreement between the two of us. In any right, whether she said it or not, but it was said in front of those words, or those were either one of the contexts. It was said in front of my kids, my constituents, people that was working there, right in the front of the main gate at the complex.
Kids, man.
It was that type of, because we were having our pre-meeting for the event, and so it was early enough to whereas it was not a lot of people, but early enough for my family and my board members, people there to hear it, that also corroborated the story that yes, that's what she said. Now again, what got to the open records was not that, but of course there's always going to be two versions of the story. Yeah, so her and I's relationship is,
I understand because, and I'll say this as a law enforcement officer myself, you know, I would be crazy to just talk to a citizen like that. I mean, we all are human, we all have feelings, but to be unprofessional, and you're supposed to serve and protect, and you're supposed to do things the right way. We're all swore to the Constitution. We're all supposed to be professional, but the way you act is a reflection on your department. Because if you do something wrong, then it's going to make your whole department look crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so from my understanding, I I had some citizens reach out to me, and they have told me, you know, it was reported to me. Let me just go ahead and say that it was reported to me that she is on the Brady list. And for those people who don't understand what the Brady list is, the Brady list is an internal record kept by prosecutors or a police department that tracks law enforcement officers who have a history of misconduct involving dishonesty, bias, integrity, you know, those kind of violations. Those are the kind of officers that are flagged with their credibility, and they can be impeached, or I would say challenged. And for the most part, they can't testify in court on certain things. They're just not, they're not credible, I should say, like that. And it was reported to me by some citizens that, you know, and I'm not going to really say if it was from the inside or outside, but, you know, people, reliable sources do speak, and they said that she has a lot of things that have, you know, been going on. It was also reported to me that right now she's not working the streets because of a lot of things like that, and because of her calling you out of your name as a police officer. And one other thing that I want to elaborate on is which it was, I mean, and I believe that was said because it was around a lot of people and everybody heard it, but she's still the liaison for the, I believe, Parks and Recreation. She's over the events where you still have to go to her to I guess to rent out a park, rent out a place or whatnot for an event or things like that. Basically, she's still ongoing.
She is the liaison. She is the liaison for the police department that any event promoters that want to deal with football have to pretty much, they will be contacted by her, correct? You know, through email or through by phone, however it is. And she's the one, to my understanding, that does the scheduling of the officers or assigns the officers to work the events and make sure that you know, everybody has done their due diligence before anything happens.
Right. And the thing about it is, man, even with open records requests, because you said everything, you know, is in open records, which
everything I'm saying right now is open records.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did me and my people, we did an open records request on that particular officer, and a few other things that have been going on in the Desoto Police Department. They have a certain amount of time they're supposed to get back with you when you file for open records request.
I think it's 10 days.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But you know how long it's been since I've heard anything, or any of my people have heard anything from the Desoto Police Department? About 5 or 6 months. What are they afraid of, and why? I mean, there is a reason for everything. I mean, that right there, if the law says you have to release it within a certain amount of time, and here we are 6 months later.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because when I did my open records request, and it was pretty lengthy, I don't want to say they tried to be funny, but a lot of the information that I requested, they tried to give it to me. They gave it to me in a binder about this thick, full of pages, in a binder like this. You know, when you do open record requests, you're supposed to get that stuff electronically. Yeah. And so I told them, you know, what are we doing here? I don't want a binder. I clearly stated I want electronic copies of everything. And so they had to go back and then send it to me electronically.
Right.
With all the files and everything. Because in the files, there are hidden files. And that's what I try to tell people. When you do open record requests, don't just look at the file. There are files inside files. And so you'll be able to dig deeper and find even more things. Yeah, you know, the things that are going on in the city, it's just disheartening because I've brought in a lot of constituents, friends that also host events here.
Right.
And they're not wanting to come back anymore. They're not wanting. They're and it's basically because of the police. It's just because of how outrageous pricing of the police. We have an event, and I'm having an event, inside the park. And we'll take the parking lot. But because of where the park is positioned, the neighborhood across the street complain, hey, there's a lot of traffic, there are people parking in the neighborhood, we don't want folk parking in our neighborhood.
Right.
So now I have to pay for 3 officers to sit in the neighborhood across the street for 8 hours every day and just sit there in their cars and tell people don't park here. That should not be on the promoter. We're having an event inside the park complex.
Exactly.
Where you build your homes, that has nothing to do with me. That's on the city. But we're having I gotta pay officers to sit there for 8 hours. Just sit there. Yeah, you can't park here. But that's part of the 9 officers they want. So for me, it looks very excessive.
Right.
And it sounds excessive. When I say $22,000 in police fees, there's not too many nonprofit organizations that can pay that. In 5 years, I've paid the city of DeSoto over $100,000 in police and field costs. So between renting the field and between paying the police, in 5 years, I paid the city of DeSoto over $100,000. It's not an exaggeration. You can. I have the files. I have the proof to show you right now. Whew. And that's just 5 years. That's not showing the years before that when we were paying in cash. Because when I requested the open records and I asked for certain dates, they couldn't produce every receipt. It's paper receipt. So if they didn't keep them all, however, things get moved around, I don't know. But again, the open record did show is that in 5 years that I've paid over $100,000 in field costs and police fees. It also shows that in 5 years, I've brought the city over $10 million in economic impact.
Oh my goodness.
And these are not my numbers. These are the numbers that the parks have. And so, again, when we say they don't see the value in what we do here, what is DeSoto doing to bring people to the city?
That's a good question.
I'm asking. It's a serious question.
Really good question.
What is going on in the city of DeSoto that brings people from out of state to come to the city here? What is going on in 10 years in the city of DeSoto that has warranted the building of these hotels up and down the highway? What it has? It was a relationship that we have brought in. Curry and his people, hey, they're having these youth events every weekend throughout the summer, and it's bringing in millions of dollars in economic impact over the last 6-7 years. Look what they're doing. Look, and this could be corroborated. Look what they're doing to make people want to come to the city. They're coming here for youth sports, and I know sometimes you don't want to be associated as a youth sports city, but other cities up north, they grasp and they run with that. Because if it helps build the economy, that's what they want. You got people coming in. My last event, they said, they gave me the numbers. They talked about it at the city council meeting. It was 19,000 people that came through the city.
Good Lord, that's
in 3 days. Why would you not want that economic impact coming through our city? Why are we pushing out the people that are bringing that to the city to help build the city up that they live in, instead of going somewhere else and giving it to other communities that don't need it. But you're forcing them out, not because they say, hey, they don't want police. They're saying, why we need to have so many of them? Why it's got to be so many of them?
And it makes it look, it makes it look bad even in person and online, because when you have a lot of African American people having a youthful event, playing football or whatever the case might be, and you see all these police officers around, it's like, well, dang, well, we're just waiting on something to happen, because you know how some of these Negroes are, they're going to do something crazy. But then again, when you look up the street and you see other, races like Hispanic or Caucasian or whatever, and they have their events, and you said there's no one around, what does that say? What does that say?
I'm gonna put it in this perspective for you. I had an older lady who came to an event last year, and she's probably in her 70s, probably maybe early 80s. She was an older lady. We had to help her in, and so and she had her son with her and her grandson.
Right.
And they had to be spread their legs, turn around, hands out, pat it down, wanded, all this. And she said, baby, we got to do all this to go to the game. And she says,
it's like prison.
She said, this reminded me of the 50s.
Huh.
And it broke my heart when she said that, because I look across the street and I see them walking in, other demographics, they holding their baby's hand, walking in through the gate, smiling, chippering, having a grand old time. And we got drug sniffing dogs out here. We got this going on out here. Again, I'm all for public safety. I really am, because the safer your events are, the more people will come to your event and have a great time. But what perception are we conveying when that's the first initial thing that people see? A grandmother come see her grandbaby play, and her son being patted down in the manner like he is. It's disheartening, because again, if that's the standard, I can't argue with that. But let that be the standard across the board. But it's not. If I'm looking across the street and I see that, I'd be like, hey, mama, that's just how they do things in DeSoto. I can't, that's how they do things. But they're not doing it there. Your ordinance says, ordinance 4.7 says, any event with 100 people or more that uses public facilities or charges money. What we doing? Any event. But why is it just happening to just football? So those are the questions that I have. Why is it just happening to our demographic? Why is it that we're the ones that are being made to that we're complaining about public safety? No, we're not complaining about public safety, because I promise you, anything happens on one of these events, that event won't happen no more, because people are not going to come because they feel unsafe. But what we are complaining about is we don't need 6, 7, 8, 9 of y'all standing around doing nothing, because me and my group, we host events all throughout the country. We have events up at the Hall of Fame in Ohio. We have events in Atlanta. We have events in West Virginia and Florida, out there, all over the country. The leadership in Atlanta said, and I asked, okay, how many officers we got to have? And I said, shit, you only had this 1, 2 officers. That's it. And I said, that's it. She said, I'm not giving y'all our taxpayers dollars. I'm not giving you that.
Right.
You have your own security. You go to 2. Because at the end of the day, she said, at the end of the day, they're going to call for bag up anyway. Because they can't handle all of this out here. Well, there's 6, 7 of them. She says they're going to call for bag up anyway. But I'm not giving you taxpayers' dollars to sit around and eat hot dogs and watch movies all day, because they can't do anything.
Exactly.
They can't. They literally are not allowed to do anything. The only time they will move is a disturbance. So, like my event this year, you have 3 days and no disturbance. What we paying for? What are you paying $22,000 for? And so, what am I paying for your squad car to be at the event for?
That's what gets.
What am I paying for gas? I got to pay for gas for your squad car to sit. It's not driving. I gotta pay $5 an hour for your squad car to sit. It's not moving. It's sitting for your gas. And so, and we want our money 2 weeks in advance. And so, here's the funny thing. That Friday came, and this is why problem I have with paying in advance. If your fence fell down and a contractor came and said, hey, it's going to be $5,000 to put your fence back up. And he said, I need my money up front. You going to pay him?
Shoot, what they up front?
Exactly. Exactly. You get paid when the work is done. You get paid when the work is done.
That's just like going to the grocery store. You gonna eat it before and make sure it's good, and then go pay for it.
So I paid $22,000 in advance. Friday come and I had to have 7 officers with 7 squad cars and all of that. Friday come. Where these officers at? For my event, where these squad cars at? So they had to end up reimbursing me some money because they didn't do. And I told them, I told the officers, I can't wait till Monday come. I'm gonna light into somebody. I didn't have to say nothing because they knew I was coming. They started refunding me all at the top because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they know the squad cars weren't there and the 7 officers weren't there. They knew. They know that it's not right. They know it's not right. But why am I paying you in advance in the first place? You pay for services after they're rendered. That's just the way the America works.
Exactly. So with the community knowing this now, basically what I want to ask you is, what is it that you want to say to these? Let's just start off with some of the people who run the city of DeSoto, some of the higher ups, some of the elected officials. What is it that you want from them? What is it that you want them to know? Because, you know, some of them haven't really got into the whole thing, and some of them I know try to avoid it, try to avoid being a part of whatever. What is that you want to tell them? If you could tell them anything right now.
It's the same thing that I've been trying to tell them. You know, again, we're not your enemies. We you know, if anything, we should be looking at partnership to ensure that we keep these events coming throughout the city. And what can we do to make them better? And how can we help you all to ensure that they're going on without a hitch instead of looking at it as if we're bucking against the system when we're not. None of the guys that I know that are coming to the city to use our services, to use our facilities, they're not trying to buck the system, but they want to know, why are you charging us in this type of manner to host an event? They don't understand that cost has to be turned to somewhere. So now we have to come to an event where it cost $5 before, back in the day. I'm charging $15, $20 to get in. And why? And I'm charging that because of what? Because I had to pay for the police.
And which reminds me, the same thing. What is it that you want the police department to know? Because I know you came to them several times. If they were standing in front of you today, what would you tell them?
I've told them. I said, hey, I appreciate you all. First of all, I appreciate you all, but I don't need all you all. I don't need 7 of y'all. I appreciate the work you do when it's time, but I don't need 7 of you all throughout the day. I've given so many different diagrams and so many different examples of what we can do to make this work. We get blown. And again, I can't say anything to the officers because it's not them. They're only doing what they're allowed to do. It's the higher ups that make the decision. It was our former CM, because he didn't like the way that we came to City Hall on December the 4th with the cameras and holding them accountable. Yeah. Now let's
City man,
Majid.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's be retaliatory. The
one who didn't live in the city of DeSoto anyway.
And didn't live here anyway.
Yeah.
So now you have organizations that have been in the city for 20 years, all right? That have been part of the community for 20 years, that have so many kids they put through school, through college, through 20 years. They can't afford to stay here any longer. Because now for them to rent a football field, one football field to have their 4 little games, they're telling them you got to have 2 officers and a squad car and you got to have security. They can't afford that. They're just a mom and pop organization that's been here 20 years. They've been part of the youth sports organization DeSoto for years. And you want to tell them they got to have 2 officers, a squad car, and security, and put gas in your car for one field for 5 hours? What are we doing? Those are the things that I'm talking about. Like, nobody sees the bigger picture. This is a trickle-down effect. We have organizations in the city that are having to go to other cities.
Exactly.
I want y'all to understand that. I want the city council to understand that. We have organizations that are having to go to other cities where the parents pay taxes here. They have to go to other cities to use their facilities because they can't afford the facilities in DeSoto because of the police. That is baffling. Nobody is understanding and nobody's listening to me when I say, what are we doing? We want to charge them so much money, and we're running out the people who have been in our community longer than half people have been on the dais. What are we doing? Nobody sees the bigger picture. It's not about me. It's not about Chris Curry. It's about the processes and what you all are doing, how it's affecting everyone. How I don't want to say the council turning a blind eye, because as of recently now they're not because of the uproar, but turning a blind eye all these years, how it has affected these organizations that used to be here. They're no longer here.
Well, wait till we get to this point.
But they're no longer here. We used to have 10 organizations in the city. They're no longer here. And why do people don't come to the city? They can't afford the police. They can't afford the field costs. They can't afford they can't afford the $1,000 a day you want for concessions. I had my event this past weekend, a couple weeks ago. They wanted to charge me $1,000 a day to run the concessions. So I'm already paying $7,000-$8,000 for the field, and the concession stand is in the middle of the fields. I have to turn around now and pay to use the concession stand that is a part of the fields, and you want $1,000 a day?
If I were a parent, and if my child was, being mentored by you and he plays football and stuff like that, if I would have known this, and I'm just going to be straight up, I would have said to you, with all that you was going through with the city of DeSoto, I'm not doing this here anymore in the city, because they don't have this right. They're taking advantage. The police department is taking advantage of people. Even though we're paying for our little buddy to go to the football practice and play games and things like that, but it's you being a nonprofit, it's like they're taking advantage of you and they're strong arming you and then wanting cash from you. I don't think that they deserve to even have you, man. Because from what I've seen a lot of brothers do a lot of good deeds in the cities that they're in. But for you to come in to bring that much money in, to bring that many people in, for them to treat you like the way that you have been treating right now, especially looking at you like you're some sort of cash mule, is simply ridiculous. And it's come from the police department. Now, let me just tell you this. All law enforcement officers are the same. And I can't apologize for DeSoto because they're their own agency. But for people like me and many other law enforcement officers around this nation, man, I appreciate you. And we all appreciate you. I can speak to them because you got a lot of officers I know who are coaches, who are doing things with their kids. They're putting them in organizations such as yours. And I know some of those parents are law enforcement officers as well, too, that would never try to do anything like that to you, to ask for cash and let you waste money and things like that just so you can have it in the city. That's ridiculous. And yes, you're right. Now when they go to another city, whatever, they're shying away from the city that they started, like DeSoto. We are our own worst enemy. We are our own worst enemy, and it's sad that it has to be like this, but for those officers that are doing those kind of things, I'm just be real with it. Y'all need to repent. because what goes around comes around, and don't think God doesn't see it all. He sees your good deeds, but he also sees we're supposed to be serving and protecting. We're not supposed to be taken advantage of and fleeing, taking the money and run, or just because you have it available. Oh, we're gonna just do this and take this. Hey, we need this, we need that. Hey, you need to put gas in our cars. I have never been so embarrassed for some of the law enforcement community just to even hear something like that coming from them. But for the citizens who's their first time hearing about this, each citizen and each parent, matter of fact, each citizen that lives in the community of DeSoto, what would you like to say to them? What do you want them else to know besides what you know already? What words do you have for them?
Again, I've been in DeSoto 35 years, 36 years. This is my family, this is my home. I want DeSoto to shine just as much as they do. We have to change some of our practices because we are only known for the things that people see. And so if we're known for quote unquote what the community thinks is corruption or extortion, that stuff is spread so fast. It spreads so fast. They don't understand how big our name is in the youth sports world and how DeSoto has a black eye because the public sees what is going on. And so I don't want that perception to be for the community that I live in, that I was raised in, that I'm raising my kids in. I want us to be known for things much grander and broader than just that.
Right.
So again, I keep reiterating that I am all for police and I appreciate what they do. However, I'm not for the excessiveness of police just for a check. And you disguise it as safety and security, but it's not. It's not.
And I'll just say to our viewers, if you all have any questions concerning why the DeSoto Police Department is doing this, they're not just doing this to Chris Curry, but they've done it to other people. But when they do things like this, it only affects them, it affects the youth as well, because these are kids that are trying their best to go ahead and stay out of trouble.
Absolutely.
Stay off the street,
Absolutely.
have some extracurricular activities. And it's just a bad look altogether. So if you have questions for the DeSoto Police Department, I advise everybody to call them. I have a number here for the DeSoto PD. I have a 469-658-3000 number. It says that is their primary phone number. Once again, it's 469-658-3000. And then we have an alternate phone number for DeSoto PD. It's going to be 972-223-6111. Once again, 972-223-6111. The DeSoto Police Department is located at 714 East Beltline Road in DeSoto, Texas, 75115. And also, ask about that officer as well too. Ask about Officer Ryan, because we have a lot of unprofessionalism going on in the city of DeSoto as well too. Because now we got people taking advantage of citizens. Now we got people cussing citizens out. That is not what we do as public servants. So I want to say before we end this, Mr. Curry, thank you for all you do, man. I really appreciate you coming on to the show, and I appreciate you spilling your heart out to let these citizens know what's going on in their own community. Mm-hmm. But I encourage you, which I know you're already going to do it, man, keep fighting.
Absolutely.
And keep helping these kids, man. You have no idea how much that is needed. Mm-hmm. If I can get out there every single day, and I do, I do get out, even though it might be hot.
Yeah.
But I get out of there too, man. I love seeing people interact with children, and I love children being off the street, having some extra things to do, because I would rather, and me personally, I would rather, get out there and play with them like I've done on several occasions, versus writing them tickets or making their life worse or taking them to jail. I want to see kids flourish.
Absolutely.
I want to see these young men grow up to be great men of God and do the same thing for their sons. Mm-hmm. I want to see these kids out of trouble, not get into trouble.
Absolutely.
But if they're going to be learning to strong arm people and learning to do people wrong and all this extra stuff, that's not needed. That's not who we are, and that definitely is not who we are as a community. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. You have any last words before we close this out?
No, I appreciate the opportunity, to have this platform and discuss the things, So, again, we just want fairness across. That's all we want. We ask for fairness.
Man,
That's all we ask for.
Amen for that, man. This has been another episode of Everyday Life with Deputy Brian Woodard. If you have any questions for us, you can go ahead and inbox. And before I get off of here, how can you be reached?
You can reach us. Organization is on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Raising Havoc Youth Sports Organization.
All right. Chris Curry, everybody. Thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see y'all on the next live feed. God bless.